Good morning, Pickswise Nation. Jared checking in on his sick pup right now on this Wednesday morning. Jared, first of all, congratulations on the new addition to the family, right? The new
He's
addition to the Pickswise family.
adorable. He's peeing and pooping everywhere. But he's super cute. He's a little sick right now, but he's quiet, which is good. So hopefully we get some underdogs on the show, right? I figured we've been betting so many dogs lately. Got to get
You
one
got
for
to get
my
a
own.
dog, right? Listen, I think a lot of people are really sick right now, so hopefully, people are feeling better. Hopefully, your dog feels better too.
Thank you.
Just keep it quiet at least during the show, right? What's
He
the
hasn't been barking at all, actually. He's been really quiet. So that's really good. It's just because we're picking too many losers. Maybe if we start winning, he'll start barking a little bit, right?
We'll get into that. We'll get into that. Yeah, I'm gonna address that later. But before we get going here, of course, we have the Pickswise app up and running. Make sure you download that. It's available on the App Store and in Google Play. Subscribe to the Pickswise YouTube channel as well, so you don't miss out on any of our shows and content that we put out there. And let us know in the comments throughout this show what you're thinking about our picks. Take it easy on me and my picks. I know, I'm aware. But let us know in the comments. We'll address any questions or picks that you might throw in the chat as well. So, Jared, we got a full card today, so let's not waste any time. And let's get right to the show. We're going to get to the bowl game today. We got the Armed Forces Bowl. We're going to talk some NBA with a good friend of the show, Brian Scalabrine. And then we're going to talk some college basketball and finish things off with our play of the day. So let's bet it. And let's start with the Armed Forces Bowl. We got Army, Missouri, that game. Now Army getting laying 6.5 points, I should say. I believe the game opened up with Army laying 3.5, 3.5 or 4, depending on where you shop. What are you thinking when you look at this game and that number? It's gotten all the way up to 6.5.
Yeah, it did open 3. I actually just got the screen lit up here. 7 just lit up at Caesars. So it's gotten all the way to 7 now. And that's kind of been my feeling on it. We were talking about it before the show. Obviously at 3, it's a bet on Army. And the reason that it moved to 7 is because, Mizzou's got a ton of people out. Not only where they're going through some quarterback issues, Connor Bazelak, who has been the quarterback all season, dealing with an injury. So they had an open competition for him during this little 3-week, stretch where there weren't any games. And it looks like the redshirt freshman, Brady Cook, actually won the job. So he hasn't started any games, yet this year, but he's going to start the bowl game. And then there's some other major injuries and also major opt-outs for Mizzou. The biggest opt-out being Tyler Beatty, who's going to the NFL. They're starting tight end, also not playing in this game. So that's why the line is moving so much in Army's favor. But I think there is a point, and I think maybe it is 7 now that we just saw the first 7 pop up. We'll see how long it lasts there at Caesars, that it'll start to probably go back towards Mizzou. They're still an SEC team. They've got a really innovative head coach that you would hope be able to figure things out during this 3-week time off. And I lean Missouri here, and I lean over because that's just where the line value is. But again, it's really tough to get behind, putting your money on a redshirt freshman quarterback making his first start.
You're leaning Missouri with the 7 points.
Exactly.
Got you. I'm going to take a different approach to this game because if you have been paying attention on Twitter, if you follow me on Twitter at all, been a rough bowl season for your boy. Started out feeling good, like, I'm going to just pick every bowl game and just have fun. It's kind of like that scene in Remember the Titans, Coach Boone walks in the gym and, Petey got his hands up. Like, why are you smiling? Football's fun. Football's not fun for me right now. It's not fun. But we're going to look at this game, and I am going to go with the Army double result. That's my play for this game. I think I missed the number. 6.5 is too much to lay for me with Army. But I also don't believe in this Missouri team at all when you look at the opt-outs that they have, not only on the offensive side, but I'm looking at the defensive side. Akil Bakers, their defensive tackle, and Martez Manuel, two captains on the defensive side opting out of this game as well. So that's 3 total captains, I think, that aren't going to be playing in this game. And that's big for this defense and for a rush defense that was already terrible against the run throughout the season, ranking 125th out of 130 FBS teams against the run, giving up 5.47 yards per carry and almost 230 yards per game. So you look at that and you look at what Army, what do? They run that triple option and they're going to run it 90% of the time, right? So I just think this is a bad matchup for Missouri to begin with. And then I'm looking at these opt-outs that they have on that defensive side of the injuries.
Significant.
And they're just it's really big. So listen, the big thing with these bowl games, as we know, motivation, service academies always show up for bowl games.
Especially the Armed Forces Bowl. Like
the Armed Forces
Bowl. They're going to show up for this game.
Yeah, I saw a tweet or somewhere online. Since 1980, service academies have gone 37-14 in bowl games. So
wow.
That's almost 70%.
It makes sense. They're tough to prepare for. You know, I think something to consider here is that Army did play. It was, I guess, 10 days ago against Navy, and Mizzou hasn't played since basically the last week of November. So that, I think, is noteworthy, that you get a team that's had 3 weeks off compared to a team that played their most emotional game of the season just 8-9 days ago.
You got a rest versus rust argument here.
Yeah, I mean, it can go either way. Yep. You know, I can see Mizzou coming out cold, and that's why I think your double result bet makes sense, because if Mizzou does come out a little slow and it takes them a little while to rev the engines, once Army pulls in front, it's tough to really come back from that type of a team, because they play ball control and they just cram it down your throat for 60 minutes. So this is a tough game to call. I'll be honest, unless you have to pick this game, this is probably a game where I would maybe pass. But I understand you're very excited to pick every bowl game. So I
was excited about a week ago.
Only a week.
About a week ago. Now I'm kind of just like stuck in this hellhole where now I got to do it.
Yeah, you got to just plow through it.
We got a question in the chat here. Army versus Missouri, over or under? That total's dropped.
I would play the over, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
I would.
Over 9-2 in bowl games this year.
Yeah, exactly. I think, first of all, betting an under in a bowl game, unless there's weather involved, I would not bet an under in any bowl game, because there's really no angles. Even if players are out, the number's going to drop. And so it takes away that edge you have. Now, if you beat the market, say, for instance, a starting quarterback gets announced out and you hit the submit button right away and you beat the market to whatever line move is, then that makes sense. But at this point, the move has been baked into all of those players out. Beatty, a quarterback situation for Missouri, that's all been baked into the line. The totals dropped, the full touchdown, the spreads moved 4 points. So at this point, an under, I think, is not a foolish bet, but it's not a bet that I would personally want to get behind, just because it's just really tough to root for unders in college football. And these coaches are very aggressive in these games unless there's weather. And I don't think there is weather in this game today.
Yeah. One more comment before we move on to another game here. Someone mentioned that the SEC factor, and that Missouri's had 3 weeks to prepare. We were talking about this before the show. I mean, listen, Missouri's an SEC team by name only. It's like Vandy's an SEC team.
It's true.
This is not like Georgia's had 3 weeks, or Kentucky, or even like a Florida. I mean, I don't know. I don't put too much stock in Missouri as an SEC team.
They've got SEC players. I mean, before then they were a Big 12 team, and they were a team that
their SEC players opted out because they got a few.
It's true. I think the 3 weeks to prepare matters, because they knew 3 weeks ago they were probably fit. I actually, to be fair, I don't know exactly when Army was declared in this game, but I know it was a decent amount of time, and they've had all of that time to prepare for Army, where Army was paying very close attention to Navy 10 days ago. So that, I think, does favor Missouri. And I think the line value favors Missouri. To me, a full touchdown is a good bet for Mizzou. Like I said that in the chat this morning when we were kind of hanging out before the show. I said if it gets to 7, I'll probably nibble Mizzou, but it's not a strong play, and it's a play just numbers only. Once it hits that key number, it's almost like the lines move so much you almost are, you've got to at least consider the other side. So I think that's where I'm at on this game. I don't love Missouri, but I think at 7, you've got to at least consider it.
All right. Let's take a break from college football. Bring in our friend Brian Scalabrine real quick. Talk some NBA, because we got some hoop tonight.
Oh, hey, Scal. I think we lost Alex for a second. I don't know if Jack
kicked the eject button.
Yeah, I don't know if he kicked him out or if he did that on purpose. But Scal's here, so let's talk a little NBA, Scal.
Okay.
I'll be honest, man. This has been a really tough week. Oh, Alex is back.
I'm back.
Hey,
I'm back.
hey, I don't know. I think
I accidentally X'd out. I accidentally X'd out.
Can't do that.
No, can't do that.
I'll just finish my question and then we'll hop right into this segment. Scout, this has been, I know last year was tough, but it felt like we were behind a lot of the issues of last year entering this season. But it seems like, COVID is like, circling back on us. Like, when you send an email to someone and then you follow up a week later. Like, That's kind of how I feel about where the protocols are and where a lot of these teams are with some of, how they're handling the roster shuffling. When you're looking at these games every night, like it's 10 o'clock in the morning here on the East Coast. Do you even consider placing a bet at this time before you know exactly what's going on with the rosters?
No, I have things I like. And what I've been doing lately is looking at trends. Like, for instance, I like one of my picks of the day is Boston against Cleveland. Boston's -6 right now against Cleveland. Well, when Cleveland has Jared Allen and Evan Mobley, they're unreal at defending the rim. So I look at it like when the Celtics are at their best, they're a team that drives to the rim. So let's just say everyone was healthy. I would not like Celtics by 6 today. Yeah. But with those two guys out, it's a significant drop off for that. So and this is if Tatum and Brown, if they clear, if they're not in protocol, obviously you always got to check the reports heading in. You got to listen to the coach and what he has to say. You want to wait till the last available minute because you just never know who's going to be out. And I think for the most part in the NBA, you have to do that. You can't look at it like 10 o'clock in the morning, but there's just some things I really like. And sometimes the line will adjust 1 point or 2 points. But in this situation, I know that Mobley and Allen are not playing. I think those guys are like co-MVPs if you can look at it, like how valuable they are to their team and the way that they both can defend the perimeter and defend the rim. So today, the Cavs' identity will be completely different. With those two guys out there, the Cavs really don't have an identity. They don't have a defensive identity. So I think the Celtics are going to drive the basketball all day long today. I think if Robert Williams ends up playing tonight, he's going to have a field day in there. But if those two guys were playing, I think I would go the exact opposite direction. So I kind of look for trends in which like the line or Vegas doesn't catch up to who's in and who's out based on styles of play. I know the Celtics are going to drive the ball today, and I know the Cavs cannot defend the rim. But historically speaking, the Celtics would settle for jumpers, and the Cavs will defend the rim. So this would not look like a really good bet, historically speaking. But today, I just feel like the line is not adjusting enough.
Scott, before we get into your plays for today, I want to ask you about Christmas. Because the news coming out yesterday, the commissioner pretty much telling teams to prepare for changes in schedule, the game times to be bumped up, move back, however you're dealing with that. Just how does that affect you as a player and your pregame routines and just how you approach those games on Christmas if you know that your schedule could be messed up at the time?
But I don't think that they're like waking up at 8 a.m. and changing them at 8 a.m. Like they're letting us know, I think within the next couple of days. So I don't think that should make a difference. Whether if you're playing a noon start or a 3 o'clock start, like the day you go to sleep the day before, unless you're like really, really thirsty and you're going out on Christmas Eve and meeting some other really, really thirsty people out there, then that gets a little bit different. But I better get my rest with a noon start. But I think for the most part, everyone's going to kind of adjust like, okay, either celebrate the Christmas or whatever you celebrate. Maybe you do, maybe you don't, whatever. Whatever you do, take care of the business in the morning. And it's always been an honor to play on Christmas Day. Yeah. You get the special uniform. You get to keep one. You can give it away to somebody. You can keep it for yourself. You get the special shoes. So it has, what's weird about the Christmas Day game? It's always like these great matchups. But it has like an exhibition feel to it. It's not like these I don't think you'll ever be a fight on like a Christmas Day. This stuff that doesn't happen.
They're all in the Christmas spirit. Did you ever play?
Yeah, exactly. Everybody's like happy. I'm telling you, it does have like a different feel to it. So another thing I don't do, opening night and Christmas Day, I never take anything away from the matchup. So I just feel like these games are about just like celebrating the NBA, celebrating the fact that I got these new color waves on the shoes, and I'm celebrating that, as opposed to saying like the real basketball side of it. It's not an easy day to bet on Christmas Day because you have no idea how people are going to respond.
It's true.
Just kind of along those lines, when we look at a matchup for your Celtics on Christmas Day with the Bucks, without Giannis and Middleton, a guy that's really stepped up has been Drew Holiday. Except when I seem to bet on his player props every other night, he seems to step up. Just, just how have you seen role players like Drew kind of step up? Because teams are missing some of their big guys. The Hawks have been without Trae Young, and some of those. Just how have you seen guys step up?
Yeah, I mean it's random. It's all over the board. I do think there's like a cumulative effect to that. Like if you're playing Drew Holiday 38, 39, 41, 42, there's going to be a day, and you mentioned it, like you want to play him on the prop bet. Like there's going to be a day when he just wears out. Like if you're not used to playing those big minutes and you're not used to carrying that load, like you're going to have a fallout day. So here's one I'll give you. Like Joel Embiid was amazing the other night against the Celtics. Like 42, the game-winning shot, all that stuff. I would look to play the under on Joel Embiid. I'd look to play the under on the Sixers. Like Doc Rivers rolled those guys out and he pushed them to the brink. Like the fatigue factor is something that you have to look at. And doesn't mean it's always going to happen. Like maybe I call the game early. I mean, maybe I think Joel Embiid is going to be awful the next time he plays, but in 2 games from now, he runs out of gas, right? Yeah. So I kind of look at the energy level. I know Drew Holiday is capable, but I know he's capable of being a big-time scorer when he's fresh and healthy. And even there's a lot of guys coming off the bench that are capable of having big nights for a small amount of time, but the fatigue of the NBA wears on you, and that's what makes superstars. Those guys, they're always playing at that high level. So if you start pressing guys and getting them out of their comfort zone and giving them, 10 minutes extra, on three nights in a row, look for those guys to have sort of a drop-off performance.
Late night tonight, Clippers, Kings, both teams sub 500 against the spread. Clippers laying about 5-6 points on the road. Actually seeing a little bit of movement here towards Sacramento in the early morning market hours, Scal. So that favors your pick. You like the Kings tonight getting some points at home, huh?
Yeah. So depending on what happens, I just like the combination of I know De'Aaron Fox and Davion Mitchell is out, but you'll have Halliburton, you'll have Harrison Barnes in there, and those guys are good examples. And Buddy Hield, all those guys. If I just said those names, you're thinking to yourself yeah, all those guys at times have wanted bigger roles or had bigger roles. So these are guys that are kind of like chomping at the bit, saying, "Well, it's great that we have everybody, but I like my opportunity tonight." So I kind of like the Sacramento Kings. I think they're going to win the game. So I think that they're I'm not surprised at all that the line is shifting.
Anything else you're eyeing tonight?
Yeah, I went back to the Celtics again. I think without Mobley and Allen, I think the Celtics are going to have a nice win at home. And I think that overall, for Cleveland, you have to play so different. Like Ricky Rubio, for example, cannot be up into the body knowing that those guys are not back there. So their identity is going to be messed up. Now, all of a sudden, Lauri Markkanen, who's been good defensively, it's in guys' airspace, and now they drive him and they score. So next thing you know, now he's way off a guy like Jason Tatum, and he starts knocking down shots. So it's too much of an adjustment when you don't have a rim protector out there, and I think it's going to be tough for the Cavs tonight. Darius Garland will be another one. He'll be asked to do too much, and I think that he'll have a really hard time with that one. So I do think the Celtics are going to have a nice game today, especially coming off that home Philadelphia loss.
I know we've talked about this before, Scal. Last week when you hopped on, we were on the Lakers, and that was not an easy win that they had last week, but they were able to get that win. But since then, they've been up and down. The Anthony Davis injury. Is this a team that has the ability, or maybe I guess the maturity to turn it around midseason, or is it going to be a struggle for them because physically they don't seem like they're really up to the task at this stage of the year?
I'll just give you the disclaimer. I recognize that I could be wrong because they are Hall of Famers, top 75 guys. I just don't see it. And last night they had the Phoenix Suns, and LeBron played awesome, off the charts. I don't even expect LeBron to play that well at his age moving forward, and he was awesome. They were not going to win that game against the Phoenix Suns. I don't think they're anywhere close to the vicinity of the Suns, the Jazz, or the Golden State Warriors. So, like I said, the disclaimer of superstar players figuring it out in the playoffs is always there because they are superstar players. But I am not feeling this team.
Are they going to make the playoffs is the question.
Because they'll make the playoffs. What happened last time when we said Lakers Dallas and the game was overtime, right?
Top 10, I guess. No, that was the Mavericks, and they I think it was the rookie that hit that shot that sent it into overtime. They barely made it to overtime.
Oh, you're talking about Hillbilly Kobe. Hillbilly Kobe. That's the one. That's right. That's right. I remember that because we were thinking the exact same thing. Like, how are the Mavs?
No Luka for the Mavs.
Yeah.
Actually, you were right. You said you know why that line's off, because Brunson might go nuts, and he did go nuts. He had a tremendous game. But the Lakers just hit a couple shots down the stretch, and they were able to pull that one out. But I haven't watched a ton of Lakers games this year, but I watched that one front to back. And Anthony Davis, and I know he's dealing with the injury now, so maybe that was baked into kind of his performances over the last couple of weeks. But it looks like the Monstars stole his talent. Like, I don't know what's going on. Is it between the ears with him, or is it just a physicality thing with his knee and his ankle, and he's just a little banged up right now?
Well, I'm glad you bring that up, because it's so funny when we talk about the NBA. It's a star-driven league. Check. You got to take care of your stars. Check. You got to bend over backwards for your stars. Check. You got to make sure your stars are happy. Check. But when you lose, everyone blames the role players and the coach, right? Like, how does that work, man? Like, the stars got together and they just pulled one over on the entire media. Like, no, you're exactly right. It's Anthony Davis's fault. And by the way, I don't know if you guys are Knicks fans or watch the Knicks or whatever. Everyone's pointing, what happened to Kemba Walker? What happened to Julius Randle? Julius Randle is a fraction of the player he was last year. That's the reason why they're not good. So it's star-driven this, star-driven that. Take care of your stars. But when you lose, they don't blame the stars.
Yeah.
Tough.
The Knicks need to get some help around Julius Randle. That's what they need to do.
See? There you go. Role players again.
Role players. Come on. I mean,
Julius Randle needs to be better. Stars drive. Stars. He's got to be better. He's got to be better. He's got to be better down the stretch.
He made all those shots last year, Scott.
I agree.
I watched him. I watched almost every Knicks game last year.
I agree.
And he was making all of those shots. And across town, the Nets, it seems like no matter what obstacles get thrown in their path, they seem to figure things out, and maybe credit Steve Nash there.
No,
he's just one
Kevin Durant.
Kevin Durant.
Durantula, the Slim Reaper. That's why. When you watch, that man is something. Everyone was watching Steph bust the record, and that was a great game. That was cool, and I loved it. I was watching that too. But a lot of people miss. Man, who were they playing across the? It was like KD and 4 G League guys, and it was one of the most incredible performances.
Was that the Rockets? Were they playing the Rockets that night?
Who were they playing that night?
I don't know, but I remember looking at the lineup and saying, "Wow."
Exactly.
Yeah, wow.
Durant, he's unbelievable. I think we had the conversation. Steph Curry, MVP. I jumped on that really early.
Yeah,
it's looking like that could happen, but if I had a vote, I would almost line by line have to dive in. If I really cared, if I was just going to mail it in, I'd say, all right, Steph, right? But you have to really dive into what's going on with Kevin Durant right now and how good
he had a pretty good price on him. Plus 240. It's Steph and KD right now. I'm on FanDuel. Steph's plus 135, KD's plus 240. Yeah. So that being said, if you bet on both of them, Scal, and one of them wins, you can make money. So who's to say you can't balance your action there with both of these guys? Because I don't see anyone else winning this award this year, right?
Well, if Nikola Jokic is putting together one of the most historic seasons you'll ever see, and no one's talking about him.
He did that last year too, right?
But he did that last year. Did a string of seasons.
So what? People get tired of it? No. Yeah. Think about this.
It's the back-to-back thing too, because Giannis had trouble with the back-to-back. So it's tough with the back-to-back.
He doesn't really make a lot of flashy highlight caliber plays.
Yeah.
You don't see him on the because he's such a great facilitator as well as scorer. He does everything so well, but it doesn't make highlights.
Jokic is 14-1 right now.
So think about this. You name any player: Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, LeBron James, Giannis. I'm going to give you a stat. Historically speaking, with Jokic on the floor, historically speaking, they are better than any team in NBA history. NBA, their net rating. With him off the floor, they are the worst team in NBA history. If that was any of the other players, this team would be it would be shut down. All right, MVP all the way. They are so trash with him on the floor, off the floor, and when he's on the floor, best net rating in NBA history. Take that for data.
Wow. How about the Klay Thompson situation with Golden State? Yeah. Is that going to money Steph's waters at all, do you think, for MVP?
Nah, he's not. It's going to take time for
it's going to take a while,
back
right?
after 900 days.
2 years,
like
2 years.
It's going to take time. Like, I think it might muddy the waters from the standpoint of Steph is the type of guy that's probably going to try to
get him involved. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, versus just go out there and be like, I got to get my MVP.
Yeah.
So there's going to be a learning curve for everybody there. I do think it's better for the Warriors to get him back eventually.
Of course.
I do not think that they're going to come in and all of a sudden it's going to be the Splash Brothers all over again.
Yeah.
It's going to take some time.
Last one for you, then we'll get you out of here. Kind of along those lines, what happens with Jordan Poole when Clay comes back? Do they ease Clay back in off the bench? Clay jump right back in? How does this work out for Poole?
Start him. No, you can go Wiggins at the 4, Draymond at the 5, and then when Wiseman comes back, I would. But the thing about Clay is he'll probably be on like a 17-minute restriction. So you might do one of these things. Like I would not put it past Steve Kerr to just play him like in a first half and then play him in a second half. Like the idea, it's tough, like going in and then sitting for 35 minutes and then doing it again. So they might use him differently, but I don't think this affects Jordan Poole at all, to be honest with you. And I think I think Jordan Poole is going to have a fantastic year, and they might even open up the floor more when Klay Thompson's out there.
Awesome. Appreciate you, Scal, as always.
Great stuff, Scal.
Merry Christmas, man.
Same to you guys.
Merry Christmas, bud. Enjoy those games on Christmas Day. It's going to be a fun one.
Yeah. All right, let's get back to college football now. Let's go to the Gasparilla Bowl. Let's go to that one. That's going to be a fun one.
That will be.
UCF, Florida. I know you got a play for this one that I'm with as well, so I'll let you break it down because we're talking motivation. This is one where I truly believe one team will be up for it, the other team not so much. So what do we got?
I thought that too. And I still think that UCF is going to be the more motivated team for this game. This game, it looks like, is going to be a sellout. And it's in Tampa. So obviously Gainesville, Orlando, you're going to get a lot of UCF and Florida fans at this game. And I thought when I first saw the line, it was wrong. UCF's going to be up for this game. I like 7 in the hook. Now it's moved past that number. It's at the 6 in the hook range now. And now that I'm kind of seeing how some of these other teams that were supposed to not be motivated are kind of coming out a little more motivated than expected, I would not be surprised if Florida, who is playing basically at home, all these players are going up against guys that they were probably recruited against, played against in high school, et cetera, et cetera. I would not be surprised if the Gators, with Greg Knox now as the interim coach replacing Dan Mullen, is up for this game. And Greg Knox obviously coached the team against FSU, big win there. Mullen was already fired, so he has a little bit of that, hey, I already won a game against my rival. Like, I've got nothing to lose here. And I would not be shocked if Florida was up for this game. So if this line continues to sink towards UCF, I might actually come back on the Gators to try to middle. But right now, my position is UCF plus 7.5. This was an early birds bet from last week. So hopefully you guys have that 7 in the hook in your pocket. But I don't know. I get this funny feeling that maybe the Gators might be a little more up for this game than we originally thought. What do you think?
My question for Florida is just who's playing quarterback?
No idea.
Who's playing quarterback?
I have no idea. But I would assume whoever is playing quarterback is going to be as skilled as, it's still an SEC recruit, a QB, compared to UCF that does have lesser talented players, I would think.
Sure. You said all the points that I was going to make. I mean, I'm just, my question for Florida is just who's going to play quarterback. Until I know that, I'm kind of staying away from it, going to just kind of see how all those things play out and do a little more research, see who's opting out, because I'm assuming Florida's going to have a couple opt-outs, a couple dudes not playing.
They might. They might. Actually, I didn't look at the opt-outs for this game besides the coaching staff. It does look like, Anthony Richardson's out with an injury.
Well, right. Anthony
lineman
Richardson is their big quarterback. He's going to be out. And then Emory Jones in the transfer portal.
Yes.
So
and then Zachary Carter, and he's a defensive end. He's going to the draft. And then Jacob Copeland, a wide receiver. He's had a decent year, 600 yards, 4 touchdowns this year. He's entering the transfer portal. But he might play in the game. That's a TBD. And it says actually Emory Jones right now is a TBD. So he's entering the transfer portal, but we don't know.
He could still play in the game.
He could still play in the game. Same thing with their linebacker, Mohamed Diabate. And that's the interesting thing about the transfer portal. You could still play in these bowl games. And it's kind of like you're putting your last game on tape, and again, you've got nothing to lose. Tell you what.
Have you seen Emory Jones though? I've seen enough Emory Jones.
Yeah, that's true. I'll be honest. It's from what now. Granted, this game. I feel like now that I'm talking myself into Florida. The Gators, they don't want to lose to UCF, right? They're like the little brother in the state. So I really can see Florida being up for this game. If the game was played in like Idaho, I would say no, Florida's not up for this game. Like that's how I feel about the Sun Bowl next week with Miami having to go to El Paso. Like if that game was played in Coral Gables, they'd be up for it. In El Paso, maybe not. This game's getting played in Tampa. I bet a lot of those guys on the Florida roster are from Tampa area, have friends in the stands. So I have a feeling that the Gators will be up for this game, but who knows? These games have been wild.
Did you see him play Florida State?
They won the game, right?
They by 3.
They won the game. That is a rivalry game, man. Just winning one of those games, I think, is impressive.
You're right. We'll see. I mean, it's just points are just so valuable in these bowl games. I mean, I think are we talking ourselves into Florida getting a touchdown?
I think I'm gonna hedge Florida because I got the 7 in the hook.
Get out of there.
And you hope for a 7-point Florida win. I think that's maybe where I'm at.
That's where you're at. All right, well, let's switch gears and talk some college basketball. We got a good one tonight, a great one actually. Arizona at Tennessee. Arizona been balling so far this season, 8-2-1 against the spread. And this is a good Tennessee team, ranked Tennessee team. And Lauren and I have talked about college basketball a couple times on this show over the past couple of weeks. And I don't think my logic is really wavered when you get big ranked opponent on the road. I don't know if I'm there to lay points, but I could see Tennessee putting up a little bit of a fight in this one. I don't know if they can win the game because Arizona is actually really good.
Arizona's tough.
But my play for this one would actually be the under because these are just two defensive teams that rely a lot on their defense. Ken Pom has Arizona ranked 8th in the country at adjusted defensive efficiency. Tennessee reliant pretty much on their defense to generate any offense. And I'm also not sold that Tennessee has the offense to keep up with Arizona if their defense isn't able to produce the way they have been. So I really 150 points in college basketball, it's a good amount of points, especially I could see Arizona actually winning this game pretty big.
Market disagrees with you. Market's gone up. It's actually 154.5.
154.
Yeah. So you're getting a better number if you haven't locked it in yet.
There we go. Well, I'm nervous now. What happened? What did I miss?
I don't know, but I will say this in terms of the efficiency, the tempo. If this game is played at Arizona's pace, they play at the second fastest pace in college basketball. If it's played at Tennessee's pace, now the game's in Knoxville. Maybe the Vols are able to control tempo. They like to slow it down a little bit more. Both teams love to play defense, and that's where I think Tennessee's defense at home, controlling the tempo, would be your best ticket for an under. But man, you love these unders, man. College hoops unders, college football unders are pretty sweaty. College hoops unders, you don't get 1 ounce of chill time in a college basketball under.
Never.
But you know what? You're getting a better number now. So if you haven't bet it yet, 154.5. Now that it's risen,
153.5 on FanDuel right now, but the spread has not changed. Arizona's still catching 2 points.
So that means there was some pretty heavy steam on the over. I haven't followed either team closely enough to deduce why. But the market's pretty standard across the board right now. I'm seeing Westgate, Circa, DraftKings, South Point, all 154, Caesars 154. Bet on, some of the offshores are a little bit lower, but it does look like this line's kind of ticked up pretty standard across the board in the total, the total, excuse me, not the line.
All right. Well, any other college basketball games you're eyeing tonight?
Yeah, so shout out Jim Root. I was chatting with him last night. He's one of our college basketball gurus that we're going to hopefully have back on the show soon. He was talking about East Tennessee State against Georgia. And, man, I was looking at Georgia's numbers earlier this morning, and they're not good. Georgia's had some bad losses. Wofford, they lost to George Mason, who's decent, but they were at home, and they got blown out by double digits to George Mason, who's a mid-major team. And that Wofford loss, I know Wofford's pretty decent this year too, but, again, this is Georgia. This is Tom Crean. This is supposed to be a team that has a little bit of pop to them. And their numbers are really bad. Offensively, they're 155th in efficiency, and defensively, they're even worse, 215. Meanwhile, East Tennessee State, they beat Moorhead, which is a nice win. They beat Murray State, Missouri State, decent win. They got spanked by that Tennessee team earlier in the year. But East Tennessee State's spunky. They slow things down. They like to play a really, chill tempo. And that's the temperament, I think, to beat a high major team like Georgia on the road. Ken Palm's got this as a 1-point game, so I got 4 points with East Tennessee State. I don't mind that play. And then I really like Duke a lot tonight. Virginia Tech, I'm really down on this Virginia Tech team. And I think Duke, since that Ohio State loss, has bounced back very nicely. They dropped 103, 92, and 87 points in their 3 games since that loss to Ohio State. And Virginia Tech's just been bad this year. When they go on the road, they lose big. They lost to Dayton. They got blown out by Wake Forest earlier this season. Right? They did beat Maryland, and that was probably their best win of the year. Earlier in December,
that's the win that got Mark Turgeon fired, isn't it?
It might have been.
I think that's the one.
It might have been. But Mike Young's been, it's been an interesting campaign for Mike Young so far. Started out really hot, but they've lost 4 out of their last 5 games. This is his now 3rd year at Virginia Tech, so he's expected to kind of raise the bar a little bit. They've lost 4 out of the last 7 games. But I think Duke at home is going to be able to cover this one. I'm laying 9, and I'm laying it with the Blue Devils tonight.
Love it. One note about that Georgia game too. One of their better players, Jalen Ingram, torn ACL, so that could explain. That happened a couple weeks ago, but that could explain kind of they were struggling before that, but just bad luck for Tom Crean. He's got to start producing at some point, right? I mean,
they've had an interesting past there at Georgia. I know they were in the tournament a few years ago, and they've had some good runs in the SEC tournament. But yeah, you hire Tom Crean, you expect to win, and they're not winning. They're a sub 500 team right now.
Brought Anthony Edwards there too, and nothing really happened there. And looking at what he's doing in the league now, it's kind of makes you wonder what happened with Georgia. All right, let's finish this show up and let's go with our plays of the day. But before we get into our personal plays, is there a 3-star play on the website that you want to give out to the people? That's why they're here.
Yeah, I think I'm going to be on this one too. It's funny. Yesterday, the 3 college basketball plays I gave out, they went 3-0, and I forgot to lock any of them in. So maybe I won't bet any of them. I'll just give them out, and then they'll keep winning, and you guys can profit from it. But this one is another one that I'm considering tailing tonight. The over in Lipscomb and LSU, Matt Marquardt, I apologize if I mispronounced his name, is the 3-star picker of the day on Pickswise.com. So go to Pickswise, check out that. And there's some other good picks on there too. There's some bowl game picks for tomorrow. There's also a horse racing pick today, if that catches your fancy at all.
Done pretty good with the horse racing picks.
They have been very well.
Like we're doing really well with the horse racing picks. If that's the thing you're into. All right, what are you on tonight?
This is a tough day to do a POD. I'm really not sold on the NBA as being a POD yet, unless something really stands out. Maybe I'll lean with Scal on that Celtics play. But I'll be honest. I think this is a bargain basement play of the day. I wouldn't go crazy with this one. But if I had to pick of all the plays that I gave out during today's show, I think Duke is the safest. They're at home. They're facing a Virginia Tech team that I think is underachieving this year, and they're laying less than double digits. And I know it's still 9. It's not like a small number, but I think they're going to be able to blow out Virginia Tech tonight. So we'll go with the Dukies. I don't like laying the chalk in a college basketball game, especially with Duke. But I do think they've got the horses to cover this number at home.
I'm going with that Army double result play I gave out earlier in the show. Listen, service academies always show up for these bowl games. I'm not messing around with the point spread. I've been burned enough in the past week by numbers. I just need a double result. I just need Army to be winning at halftime and to win the game. That's all
explain the double result a little bit so our audience knows.
Double result. I just need Army to have one more point than Missouri at halftime and one more point than Missouri at the end of the game. They just need to win the game.
Basically what you're doing, it's a money line parlay, Army first half money line, Army full game money line. It's a parlay. It's basically a same game parlay. Really, is what it is.
Yes. So all I need. Missouri has too many guys out at key positions. They're terrible against the run. I just think that Army's just going to grind it out, do what they do, run it down their throat, and get out of there with the win. I don't care by how many points. It could be a blowout. I just need a win. I need a win. So if you're on Army, if you're watching this, you probably shouldn't be watching this, but please, I need this.
Bro needs a bowl win bad.
I just need a bowl. Look. I just need a bowl.
I bet Mizzou today because I don't want to screw up your karma, man.
No. Everything is telling you to bet Mizzou today because
it is. It's at 7. It's telling me to bet.
And you know it's bad when all of a sudden people are starting to chirp like, "Oh yeah, I'm going to start fading you, man. Appreciate it." Like, thank you.
But that's when you start.
Thanks for watching. Thanks for watching.
Yes, exactly. Always thank you for watching. Always
thanks for paying attention and do whatever you need to do. But when my picks are winning, I just ask for the same energy. That's it. I just ask for the same. But
I'll be honest. I think the over. I think I'm just going to bet the over every single game in the bowl games until we get to the real bowl games, in a week or two.
Until you get to the playoff game.
Until we get to the, not even the playoff games, but the Peach Bowl, the New Year's Six.
But why wouldn't you bet the over? I mean, you got to look at the number. Well, we can get into that later.
Yeah, we'll have plenty of time to get into it.
We have plenty of time to break down the Peach Bowl.
The overs are good bets. You know why? Because they basically won every bowl game.
You want to have fun. You want to have fun watching the bowl games. You want to you want to see points, right?
It's true.
So maybe the overs play too. But all right, that'll do it for us today. We'll be back tomorrow at 10 a.m. Good luck to everybody submitting some plays tonight.